Hello and welcome to the Stepping into Your Inner Power panel. I am so excited. We have some amazing guests here that are going to be sharing how we can step into your own power and claim this inherent power that resides within all of us. It's there waiting to be claimed. But first, you must let go of those conditioned beliefs and false judgments you have accumulated over the years that might obscure your powerful self. So tune in with us. We have some amazing people here, and I'm going to introduce you to each and every one of them who will be discussing ways to overcome those limiting beliefs, release past traumas, and take the necessary steps to step into our own power and experience the life that we are truly meant to have. So one of my panelists today is Donna Maltz. She is a positivity coach, an eco-entrepreneur, and business consultant. She's an author, a show host, a blogger, speaker, and holistic chef, specializing in helping others live a legacy lifestyle as change makers and thought leaders. Her motto is, "Why retire when I can inspire?" She is a solutionist. She empowers leaders to live with clarity and stay true to their mission. For decades, she has been a catalyst for change, guiding individuals and businesses working in the world of human potential to live their life as if the future matters. We also have Katie Yepmanova. She is the creator of A Totally Sunny Life. Her passion for being present in every moment of living led her to help women cultivate deep connections with their souls and guide them to achieve their deepest soul purpose in their lives. Through her gifts of seeing people deeply, asking powerful questions, she helps connect them to their truth and to their best selves, guiding women through deep transformation while being supported by divine guidance. We also have Tabitha Benway. She is an entrepreneur, owner of Benway Investment Group, coach, and abundance workshop facilitator. In her early career as a competitive gymnastics coach, she gained a love for helping people believe in themselves and accomplishing things that seemed unimaginable. She also discovered that the key difference in doing the impossible or not was a person's mindset or belief. This set her on a journey to learning about mindset and belief systems that keep people from being the greatest versions of themselves. So after several years of training with different mentors, she began coaching and running workshops, supporting people in breaking through belief systems that hold them back. Tabitha is also a wife and a mother who believes that all the challenges we face in our world will be solved when we all work together in the flow of abundance and with an abundance mindset. And of course, I am Jennifer Regular. I'm the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path, also the transformational author of Embrace Your Power, a healing journal of self-discovery, and the blogger at Sacred You. So I'm happy to be here today facilitating this discussion, so when we start to get into it, I think it's important to define what we mean by power, because that can be a real trigger word for some people and sometimes a little bit uncomfortable, which of course is a belief in a story we tell ourselves and can also hold us back from really stepping into it. So I'd like to start a discussion about what we mean by power. So Katie, I welcome you to start the discussion with us today. How do you see power? What does that really mean?
Thank you so much for having me in this beautiful group, and such a beautiful topic to have up for discussion and expansion here. And, when I hear the word power, and you said that sometimes, it has this, it could be a trigger, or it could mean something very, very different for a lot of people. To me, I think it's this beautiful balance of masculine and feminine energy that run through us, and really discovering what it feels like in ourselves, and realizing that it's going to look so different for us to be in our power than it might be for someone right there in our family, or outside of our family, somebody that we see. And so I think power feels gentle, actually. You know, it's a very strong force, but it's very gentle in our body. Like when we talk about the sensation in our body, it feels very gentle. It feels very grounded power because it is rooted in who we are. It's rooted in the best outcome for everyone surrounding us. So it's that's what gives it, I feel like, that gentleness and that grounding. But it's also a very elevating feeling. You know, you feel it's like the upper part of you, you know, like probably your heart chakra and up is just beaming, and that's what gives you that elevation, that lift. Your third eye is open. You're really tuning into your intuition while staying really grounded. So I think it's a mix of being inspired, excited, but at the same time so grounded and so comforted and so gentle in being you. And to me, that's what power is about.
Oh, I love the way that you explain that, being gentle and grounded and just radiating this aliveness and the truth of who you are. So beautiful. Donna, how do you see power?
Hi, everybody. Wow, power. You know, I'm one of those women, and I'm an author and blogger myself. And I usually stay away from the word power or powerless when it comes to, you know, it's one of those trigger words. But hearing the two of you and like just listening and how powerful that word can be, power is energy, right? When we're running out of power on our computers, or we have no power because the electricity is down, we're out of power, we're out of juice. So power is energy. And I really want to be really clear on this beautiful divine word, actually, energy, power, how it's used, like all words. If it's used in the right context, it can be a catalyst for amazing change. And when I look at what's happening with the power mongers and the whole global greed power that we often, women especially, see men on these power trips, and or even females who are trying to play this power trip on a situation, they're using too much energy. We're in an energy crisis now. Too much power. So I think when we put everything in balance, like nature teaches us, that which Mother Nature is really the most powerful thing there is, because without Mother Nature, we wouldn't have any power, would we? Because it all comes from there. So when we put it into a really in this perspective, like how much power do we really need? How much love do we need? How much compassion do we need? How much greed? And you start using, and then you throw in the word, well, how much power do I need? Well, powerful people that are bringing more love and bringing more conscious and elevating the vibration, if you want to call that consciousness, or you want to call that power, or raise the vibe, or energy, yeah, we need a lot more powerful people like that. So so I would love to associate that beautiful power word with balance. How much energy do we need? How many trips to the store do we need to make? How many flights do we need to go on an airplane? How many lights do you have on in your home right now? Anybody who's listening to this. So it's how we use that power. And if we use that power and we conserve it and we preserve it, then there's enough power to go around to everyone, including all sentient beings that deserve a powerful place. From the tiniest microorganism to the largest critters in the world, they all have a power point too, and giving each other space to grow in that power and honor it, I think that makes the word more powerful when we distribute the power and have equality. So I really liked answering that question. Thank you so much for being so thoughtful with this panel that you brought together here today. And I'm excited to hear from all these other beautiful women. And so thank you.
Thank you for such a powerful, impactful answer there, Donna. I love the idea of thinking of it in terms of what is our energy source and how do we derive our power and be more efficient with it, and that we're sharing that energy with others too, that there's an exchange. And yes, absolutely. And being catalyzers, right? That's power. Amazing perspective. Thank you, Donna. Tabitha, I'm curious about what you have to say about power and our inner power in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, power is integrity, it's responsibility, it is choice. When I am in integrity with myself, my authentic self, and what is truth to me, I am able to come from my power. When I have compromised that, that's when I notice my light dimming. I know Katie mentioned like our heart center and that our energy coming from that space. And for me, when I have been out of integrity with my truth, whether I'm trying to people please or show up for someone else's, perspective or vision, then I'm not in integrity with myself. And that's when I've lost my power or dimmed my light versus being able to shine from the heart, like she had mentioned. And then responsibility, I know, like I'll say all the time, I gave my power away, or, are you, if I'm supporting someone, who has the power right now. And responsibility for me is, knowing that I always have the ability to affect a situation. And because I have the ability to affect a situation, I always have the power to make a difference. And then choice is, again, similar, but knowing that I always have choice, I always have the ability, again, to make a choice, to move something forward, to make a difference, to make an impact. So that to me is power.
Yes, recognizing that we have the power, and then also our choices in how to use that. Right? And being mindful that we're not abusing it, but to affect it for positive change, and how we can direct our own lives around that and have the impact and influence of others. And it's particularly impactful when we're living in integrity, as you say, Tabitha. So I really appreciate that too. And you bring up some good points about, I gave my power away, or someone took my power, feeling powerless, as Donna had mentioned. Those are all signs that we're out of alignment. How else do you think that shows up when we're not in our power, or when we're not in alignment with integrity, in alignment with who we are and who we're meant to be, and what we're meant to be doing in this world, and how we walk this earth? What does that look like when we're not in our power? Who wants to answer that one?
I can give a very specific example that happened yesterday or a couple of days ago. For me, I totally gave my power away. There was a situation where I saw what could potentially happen. And, it was in my home. It wasn't even business related. It was just in my home. My husband had a friend over, and his dog was visiting, and we have kittens. And I had seen this scenario of them like cause this big thing happening. And so instead of saying, hey, let's have a plan, let's set ourselves up for success, let's set our 12-year-old son up for success with his kitties, and because he loves animals, I didn't bring everybody together, and I didn't create that successful situation. And they did end up in this, there was a lot of, I guess drama is the best way to explain that. And I remember I felt frustrated, like knowing that I had made the choice not to say anything, knowing that I saw what could potentially happen ahead of time, and knowing that none of us set him up for success. But I definitely gave my power away to the situation, right? Versus instead of, owning it ahead of time or even in the moment. It was very emotional for me because he actually ended up getting injured. And so, it's just an example of how life happens, right? Life happens to us, but how we can be out of our power and out of our ability, what feels like our ability to control something, because we said, oh, well, not speaking up. So I didn't use my voice, one. And then two, in the moment, feeling that frustration versus just going, wow, this is what happened and this is why it happened. And yes, I am responsible. there's an example of life losing my power in a moment because of choices.
Oh, I would love to hop in, Tabitha, and say that is so interesting to me, and I just totally can relate. First of all, life happens for us, not to us, and then when it happens for us, it becomes a gift, right? And instead of a victim. So everybody who's listening to this, just think about when life happens for us, it changes our perspective and it puts power back into the situation. And you weren't the only adult in the house who gave up their power. Your husband did, or your friend, the friend who brought the dog gave up the power. But it's so like a woman like us who we're the ones who give up the power. What about them? They didn't do any, they gave up their power too, right? So you did the best you could in the best situation. And the way I like to think of it is nobody's to blame. This happened for a reason. And I also think there's something so incredibly, this is off topic, Rachel, I hope it's okay, I'm doing this, but as far as for me, maybe this year I turned 65, so it was a really big thing for me. And when you guys look a lot younger than me, but 65 is super cool. You can kind of claim your power however much you want, in a sense of having those life experiences. So I just can't wait till I'm 85. I mean, I hope it slows down, but how powerful is that even to imagine that I'm going to have? But that's what, again, comes back to conserving that power or that energy that we have. And this brings me to the point of, I am doing my best to help, especially women entrepreneurs, realize that the more power we can give to other people by empowering other people to do the work, many hands make light work. So I'm always looking for ways, and that's where my PowerPoint is. That's how that makes me, makes it okay. That's my power. That's my superhero word or whatever, is to genuinely see the best in other people and empower them. It changes the word power, and it makes the word way more powerful when you're empowering other people. And even in your situation, like with the dog, seeing things happening for a reason, and now empowering, I'm really sorry if your son got injured, but there's a powerful lesson for him that somewhere in there. And I know you seem like such a light being and full of light energy, that you will find that. And so in summary, everything happens for us for a reason. And empowering is probably one of the most powerful things we can do as humans, because the best leaders make and help others become leaders. And that is where the power lies.
Thank you to be able to facilitate that. And speaking of light beings, we now have Jan Ravenfeather that's just joined us. Welcome, Jan. It's nice to have you here. And I will tell everybody a little bit about you. Jan is an ordained priestess of the divine feminine energy in the universe, whom she lovingly calls Goddess. Also known as Priestess Diasima, Jan identifies as a multi-faith minister, activist, feminist, spiritual warrior, death doula, artist, and creator of ceremonies and sacred tools. Jan has been called to bring attention and change the injustices that women face in their lives in their many forms. Mostly, she is passionate about helping to heal women from trauma of all types, but especially sexual, caused in childhood and or in adulthood, so that we become whole, become who we are meant to be in this world. Jan is also the host of the Many Faces of Goddess Tribe, which is part of our sacred community. So welcome, Jan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
Stepping
so much.
into your inner power. We are just talking about our definitions of power, and just now talking about what it feels like or how it manifests when we're not in our power, when we're not living in integrity, or when we've given our power away. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jen?
Well, power means many different things to many different people. So if we're talking about stepping into our divine power or our sacred power, that to me is something we need to do every day. I'm kind of a grassroots person. I'm quite blunt, and I'll get to the root of something. That's what I like to talk about, and I like to talk about the root of all sorts of things, and give women especially practical advice on stepping into our power and how we can bring that into our daily lives. I'm really sorry that I missed that story. It sounded wonderful. I came in at the end of it, and I do apologise for being late. I was on the phone with a very dear friend whose son is very ill at the moment, and I lost track of time. So I do apologise for coming in late, but we've got to do what we've got to do, right? I think stepping into our power first and foremost is being responsible. There's a world out there that is not responsible for anything they do, basically. I'm talking generally about the general population and the patriarchy and those that own, big farmers and all that kind of stuff. And that itself is trickling down into our society. And if you notice with society today, there is not many people who take responsibility. They always try to fob off onto someone else or blame someone else, or they go into a diatribe of why it's your fault, they did something wrong. So first of all, as light beings, we need to understand what our power is and how to use it properly. And we need to know ourselves very well. So the responsibility is linked with our integrity and our honour and all those old-fashioned ideals that we used to have in the world that we can try and bring back. And that's a hard job. It's a real hard job. Owning our mistakes, being responsible for, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, or I'm sorry, I think you misunderstood me. Owning where we walk, owning our path and owning the things we need to do along the way will bring us power. And certainly if we are linked to the divine, whatever you would like to call that, your higher self, it's your inner goddess, whatever you would like to call that. If you are linked to that, that's where our divine and our integrity comes from, our inner conscience going tap, tap, tap. I'm sorry, you need to fix that up if you've gone out and yelled at a shopkeeper or something like that because you were frustrated. Go back and apologise. Little things like that make us stand out from the rest of the world. I find that that's very interesting, the reaction you get from others when that has happened. That's just broadly what I can think of at the moment.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jan. Yes, and quite aligned with what's been shared too about how we define power, how we use that, and the responsibility we take for it as well. Katie, what does it mean for you when we're powerless or when we've come out of alignment and given our power away? How does that show up, or what have you experienced going through something like that?
I think the most recent, I think one of the things to know about how we notice things or become aware of things is that it's an evolving process. So it might look a certain way now, and then, you kind of level up to that level, and then it looks a different way. And then you just go through these levels of peeling your onion to get to the center, or, opening your bloom to bloom fully. To me right now, at the point that I'm at, it's this level of awareness. And it's very similar to what Donna was sharing about. I was actually using that phrase today, that everything's happening for me. This day could not have gone the things that were happening today were just, I could have never imagined that you could put all of these things in one day and just have it just happen. And as I'm going through this day, I just kept reassuring myself, there's a reason for this. don't stop, getting frustrated. Not stop getting frustrated. I'm trying to be more compassionate in my self-talk, but it's like, there's no reason to get frustrated, right? There's no reason. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop time. If you had to be somewhere at 4:30 and it's 4:35, there's nothing that you can do about it, at this point. So focus on what you can do. And this constant reminder for me, it just felt really comforting. So I think one of the clues, or one of the ways to notice that you're out of alignment, is when you kind of start spinning and you feel the victimhood come on, and you're like, why is this happening to me? I had all of my T's crossed, why? Instead of almost have this approach. I love to be like, oh my goodness, isn't this hilarious what's happening right now? I could not have imagined it. Universe, come on, how did you do this? How did you pull this off? So my day finished. Well, I'm still finishing my day with you lovely people here, but my kind of errands finished when I had to drop something at the post office that was closing at 6, and I made it there at 5:58. And when I made it and I dropped it off after going to 3 other post offices, and I just had this feeling of this was the most funnest experience, universe. Thank you. Thank you for taking me on this crazy roller coaster ride today. And here I am showing up. I thought I wasn't going to make it too. And here I am. It's just this curiosity and just being open to it, looking a different way. I think that's another way we can give our power away, is when we're so fixated or so set on how it should be. This is how it should be. If I did this, then this should have followed, and then something completely different happens and you feel frustrated. Frustration is a big sign too that, we're not open to the amazing things that the universe can present us with. So that's some of the ways. And then stepping into that power is being like, okay, universe, all right. Okay, let's see what you're creating here. I'm game for it. I'm not gonna create this resistance. One of the kind of mantras or conversations I like to have with myself is something along the lines that I cannot even imagine, my physical mind cannot imagine or encompass what universe can create. It just can't. What Donna was saying, how powerful nature is. I can't comprehend what universe can do, right? So that's not my job, right? It's universe's job to do that. But my job is to keep resistance away in a form of a doubt, in a form of frustration, in a form of victimhood. So that is something that I want to be aware of, and also aware not in a sense that, oh, I'm aware, oh, Katie, you're in victimhood mentality now. Oh my goodness, shouldn't you be able to do better about it? No, it's the observation. Oh, I'm in victimhood right now. Okay, all right, I'm in victimhood. This is where I'm at right now. Doesn't mean anything further than that. That's where I am. Okay, I'm in victimhood. I'm gonna sit here in my victimhood and just love myself with this victimhood mentality. Just hold space for that. And then just love myself whole with this moment of victimhood. And when I do that, I kind of accept myself fully, right? In that moment, even though victimhood did show up, and I want to be like, no, Katie, get rid of victimhood. This is not, come on, nope. It has to look perfect, only joy and, butterflies. But it's the courage to be like, nope, there was victimhood today. There was frustration today, but I still held space for myself in knowing that I can be frustrated, or I can think that I'm a victim in this, but it doesn't have to define me, or it doesn't have to kind of spill over into anywhere else. So awareness for me is huge.
Awareness is huge, and you're so right. And also that self-compassion, that acceptance, to have the anger, the frustration, the victimization mentality, as you mentioned, and also have love and compassion, and using that love and compassion to embrace that anger, to the frustration and the victimization and those feelings that you have, to embrace it all and not attach or judge it, as you say, but to fully accept it and give us freedom from any attachments to people, situations, outcomes, and to be able to release all of that and create some ease around that and give ourselves some slack. That's what slack is that space, right, around all of that. And we have the capacity to hold it all. It helps us to really develop that capacity to hold it all when we allow all those feelings that are arising to be there and to just be present with that and to embrace it and lean into it. Really appreciate that. Thank you for those comments. There are things that hold us back, like those stories, those beliefs, other conditions. So I'd like to hear from all of you about what kind of conditions and beliefs do hold us back, or experiences in life that may hold us back from fully stepping into our power. Who wants to answer that one?
I'll jump in just because I want to make sure I don't die here on my battery. First of all,
please.
This is a very powerful conversation, and I want to honor everybody who's, Katie, that was great. Just everything everybody's been sharing, Jan and Tabitha, really very powerful. And if you notice, like, even Katie, like, just being able to declare and speak like that, I don't know if anybody else could see it, but I'm sure everybody could see you gaining your power back from having this kind of like powerless victim day, just by talking about it and sharing and expressing. We saw you come alive, and it was beautiful to witness that. And I loved one of the words she also used was the word curious. And, being curious as much when you're feeling, say someone's victimizing us, or we're not feeling in our power. Curious is one of those really important words for all of us to consider using in our vocabulary every time that little victimization or that powerless feeling happens. I'm curious, why would you even say something like that instead of saying, you freaking, how dare you? Because then you give your power away when you start acting like you think you're powerful. But when you're curious why someone is behaving a certain way, it really is very helpful. The word curious helps us not become victims and helps us keep our power. Because like a child, when they're curious, it's very powerful. They ask a question, they get an answer, and they are like, wow, I'm curious. And all of a sudden there's a million more questions. But something that I think, I may be going off topic here, but this was this powerless thing and feeling powerful. I think addiction, we cannot really have a conversation about power and powerless without the word addiction in there, because addiction, like my addiction is food and work. Okay. I wrote a whole book about this, but is like, you lose your power, you lose control. Whether you're a shopaholic or gambling, you become powerless when you are addicted to something that you cannot stop doing. And that is the ultimate form of devaluing our self-worth and our integrity. So that brings us back to earlier when I was talking about balance and the word of power and conserving our energy and only using what is necessary, like how many lights do we need on in our home? How much energy do we need to burn at the expense of someone who has nothing? And when you have this balance and you don't fall into the classification of addicted to something, I'm addicted to fossil fuels, right? I'm scared to be in my home without every light in the house on. Whatever it is, when we find that balance is the key to everything, really. And that's why Mother Earth has been so powerful and will continue to carry on long after our species is gone. And I think it was Jane or Jan, I loved what she was saying, like looking on what's going on in the world right now, right? And be curious. Be curious and ask questions. Because when we're know-it-alls and we think we know it all, we think we're so powerful. But really the people who are in question constantly and learning and growing, that is, and being open with our hearts and loving and willing to receive, it's just powerful beyond words. So anyway, this is very powerful that you this great topic. And I want to give everybody else time to talk, but I really appreciate you and this conversation, Rachel. This is awesome.
Thank you so much, Donna. Yes, and Katie said it, and you said it about curiosity. Yes, being curious, and that really alleviates the fear, and it makes it more fun and joyful. And being curious, it's the return of the innocence and reawakening that wonder of life as well. And
everybody see this when I show this.
Oh, so beautiful.
It's beautiful. Right? It's so intricate in so much detail. It's Mother Nature. It's just divine. And I'm just like in total awe. Like when I see this is where I get my power from. And I think that Katie and anybody else out there when you're feeling like a victim, the most important thing to do is to get out into nature. Because the closer we get to nature, the closer we get to our true nature.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the power of nature can change our whole state, our whole way of being. It can heal. It brings us back into balance. And Donna, I love that you mentioned about balance being key, because that's really what wholeness and healing is all about, is coming back into balance, back into alignment. And so what else, though? What other conditions and beliefs can hold us back from really stepping into our power? Does anyone else have ideas or experiences to speak on about that? Katie?
I was actually nodding at Jan. I was like, Jan has something to say.
All right, Jan, you had something to say there? Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And I loved what you said, Katie and Donna. That was the being curious. It really piqued something in my brain that I'd love to talk about now. It may not be exactly what you're talking about, Jennifer, but I think it's important. The last 2 weeks, I've been bombarded with negativity and things that were happening that had not happened to me for a very, very long time. It's just, I felt like I was being bombed by horrid things, negativity, attacks, all out of the blue. So it wasn't a very pleasant experience, and I really felt detached from my power, really felt detached from Goddess. So in the end, I got quite a couple of really good lessons out of it, because, again, a couple of those layers of onion had to be peeled away. And I was then curious to pull that apart. I did feel like a victim for a while, but my curiosity made me look at it and go, okay, what were the circumstances around that? What did that all have in common? And my curiosity made it pull apart. And I went to a very trusted friend and I talked to her about it as a bit of a debrief, which is great. I hope we've all got somebody we trust immensely with our feelings and our humanity that we can talk to. That's very important. So she helped me look at it in an objective way as well. So between the two of us, we were really curious to get to the root of it. And until I got to the root of it, I started to feel my joy again. So, and that hadn't happened for a very, very long time. Normally there's just one or two things come and I can be in my power and I can use my kindness and compassion and integrity to deal with those issues. But this was whoa. So I'd just like to explain also how I feel when I'm in alignment, because I felt out of alignment for that 2 weeks. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel my higher self. I felt like I used to, and I didn't like it. It was awful. So I know when I'm in my joy, when the feeling of being connected and that love of the universe gives me so much joy. I'm in that joy space every day. And therefore, in alignment, you get the best car parks, and things just come to you, and answers to questions, and just everything flows wonderfully in that alignment. But whatever steals my joy away, that's what I need to look at. That's what I need to be curious, because I'm not in that alignment, and I can't be there for the people who need help, and I can't be there for myself either. So the experience, what I'd like to throw a question into, the experience of how you feel when you are in alignment, and you can do anything. You can step into any situation and be the voice that is needed, voice of reason, or sometimes even, what are you guys doing? Stuff like that. That becomes a real flow. So how do you feel when you're not in the flow? What little warning? So to me, that's saying, hang on, you're out of alignment. Something's stolen your joy. How do you feel? What does your body and mind and spirit say to you to bring you back into alignment? I'm sorry for hijacking that a bit there, Jennifer.
No, that was absolutely perfect, actually.
Thank you.
Yes, because you spoke to both ends of it, right? What does it mean to be out of alignment? What kind of conditions and beliefs and stories might we be telling ourselves to take us out of our power? And then also how to come back into that. What are the steps to do that? And Jen, I know that you also work with people that have experienced trauma, and particularly sexual trauma that we read in your bio there when I was introducing you.
Definitely.
Can you share a little bit about that for people that have experienced trauma and, have been overpowered?
Yes, where do I start? Well, the reason I got into that once I became a priestess was because that happened to me. So I know the pain of growing out of childhood into adolescence, into teenagership, being abused, and later on in life also, because that tended to follow me. So first of all, you need to be able to understand, I guess, the feelings and the pain and the ability to turn your emotions off and go into a different place when you've experienced trauma. The ability to actually tuck some things away into a little cupboard in your brain and not to even think about it, or even understand that it happened for a very long time. That's what happened to me. It didn't actually come out until I had my first child, and my father had died when I was 7. So all the trauma of that came out when I had my first child, and the abuse was by a family member. So the best healers, I believe, are the ones that have gone through the pain of what you have experienced. So that's the reason I was called to do it. So the first thing I do is to build that lady up, build that person up, and get her to see that she's of value, because victims feel like they are valueless, and they've often never been told they are loved, or never been given very much physical attention, hugs and things like that, never been able to actually talk to anyone without it being used against them, or without it going into a blaming situation. Because remember, victims of sexual abuse often have members of family saying, no, that didn't happen. That couldn't happen. I know that person. They're a good person. That couldn't happen. You're just a child. You're nothing. You're this, you're that. So that feeling of worthlessness carries on into our adulthood. We don't think we're good enough for anything, and we'll take that into our adulthood for everything, for future relationships, for careers, for everything, being parents, everything. So the first thing that needs to be done is to build that person's self-esteem, I try to align them with the divine so they feel that love, and teach them healing modalities to heal from those traumas in their own time, plus other therapeutic things like counsellors and psychiatrists and psychologists, of course, are needed along the way. But to get that person's spirit back, to get that person's love of self back, that's the first step. So they just get to, oh, I am. Wow, I can feel that. Oh, my gosh. And just to see the awakening of, for the first time in many, many, many years, someone cares. And then having a circle of sisters around that have been through similar and can support a woman on her journey to recovery, knowing that she's not alone. Because there's not that many circles of women where we can open ourselves and not be judged, say the most intimate things and it never go anywhere else. That's the fundamentals of that is the most important, I believe.
Thank you so much for that, Jan. Appreciate that. Beautiful. Does anyone else have any thoughts on what might hold us back from stepping into our power?
I do. I also wanted to say the entire time Jan was sharing about her work, I just kept thinking how powerful that is, right? How that's giving power back, how that's, that's what power is about, building somebody up and having them feel it and empowering others. So it's just something I wanted to share. And then as far as the limiting beliefs or anything else, I was having so many thoughts come through and I started jotting them down. And one of them that really stands out is the social norms, so to speak, right? Like this is what, I guess it's again back to those shoulds, right? This is what motherhood should look like. This is what being an entrepreneur should look like. And trying to fit yourself in those boxes where really there's no rhyme or reason why social norms are created, or who decides, what it looks like. So especially in such intimate relationships as motherhood. And, when Jan's talking about family members not, dismissing kids, what they're sharing, right? Their information, that's something, that we, that's where this, in childhood, that's when we start creating these, that worthiness, right? Oh, my opinion doesn't matter if it's dismissed, right, by the people of authority, which a lot of times are the parents or teachers or, things, people, that hold that authority. So I feel that once again, back to that curiosity and another word that keeps coming is vulnerability, like just this, so the limiting belief would be fear of being vulnerable, right? I don't want to be vulnerable, right? I'm feared, and Jan once again mentioned something about intimate stories, right? I can't share that, right? So we hide that. That's a limiting belief because I feel like if I don't, then I have whatever that other side is, right? If people don't know this, then I can reach higher, let's say somewhere in my career or somewhere, right? Because when I share that, it devalues me, which that's one of the limiting beliefs, that our things that made us who we are could possibly prevent us from reaching our highest potential. So that's a limiting belief. So, and when we are starting to hide these parts of us for whatever reason, if it's trauma or if it's just, something that's not accepted by the society in some way because of whatever shaped the society, right? We talked about that today, how the society is different, right? There's the responsibility aspect, we talked about it, and how different it would look if the encouragement or the social norms would come from, hey, we're all different and we all have these amazing gifts and strengths, and we don't have to look all a uniform certain way, and that as a parent, like that's very important for me to share with my kids and reinforce at home. And then especially as a parent of 2 kids, right? Like that I have this appreciation when I see in them, they're 14 and 12, that their relationship is so solid, and I just had this, no competition for them. They're not in competition with each other. They're so uniquely different and so uniquely themselves that they have the space to be that, right? Now, maybe when they go to, right, they come out of the house and they go into the world and they see that, hey, this is not as accepted as it's at home. Like, why aren't they like as impressed by my things as my folks at home? I feel like that's a great conversation where it's like, listen, push back, right? Like use your strength, like push back to be like, hey, this is valid what you think, but this is not affecting me. So I think this power and limiting beliefs, and especially I wrote, as we're talking about a power, the power of our words, right? What words are we using with ourselves in our self-talk, just noticing that, being aware of that. What we're saying, are the things we're saying intentional, or are they just things, like, oh, you know how it is, another day, another dollar, or like, so, like we're just so used to it. But then when you think about it, it's like, no, that's not what I want to say. I want to say something different, or not say anything at all. That interesting part of like that awkward silence where it's like, well, I don't want to say the silly saying, but so it's just being that awareness. And then the power of words when we're talking to others, when Jan said, when she's building people up, right, how important words are and what words we use, because a word can give life or it could kill. Like, this is the power of a word. It's so powerful. And when we are aware of that.
Oh, Kate, I'm so sorry. I'm going to lose power on my phone in a minute. And do you mind if I just jump in for a minute? Because it's so powerful what you were just saying. And actually last week, my blog was entitled The Power of Words. And I just wanted to leave everybody with this in case the power goes out. The words are so powerful, just like we covered the word curiosity, vulnerability, social construct. You should fit into this. And one of the most powerful words that I use to help my clients is choice. And I ask them to eliminate phrases like have to, got to, want, need, should. Just eliminate that from the vocabulary. And every time, and I challenge everybody who's listening to this, what do you have to do? What do you got to do? What should you have done? What do you really need? You're wanting, it's desperate. But when you choose, I am choosing, I have chosen, you choose to take your power back. And it is so great that you were just, I was just going to, that was how I was going to end, because I knew I was going to lose power. So I'm so grateful that you brought that up. And there is also the power of how we say the words that we do and how we feel about the words. We can say F you, or we can say fuck you, like, are you, whatever. So using words with the intention, I mean, like, and actually feeling understanding what we're saying. And I like what you also said, Kate, too. There's so much power in silence, in sitting in meditation, and for me, it's always coming back to nature, coming back to compost what doesn't serve us and to nourish what does. And that includes our language, our vocabulary. And it comes back to this very beginning of this conversation where all of us, I don't think Jan was on when we talked about this, but the word powerful, or, like, it's just a word. So it's what we put behind the intention of powerful or powerless, or, and when we surrender, that is when we become the most powerful. When we surrender to an addiction, when we surrender to someone who is being belligerent and obstinate, and we just say, I'm leaving. There's something very powerful about leaving trauma, like Jan was saying, or leaving a bad situation and just composting what doesn't serve you and nurture what does. Sometimes it means we got to just walk out that door and not take it anymore. So I just really, like I say, I'm going to lose you guys any second. I just really wanted to thank you for bringing that up. I want to thank everybody else everybody who brought everything, and Rachel, especially for you bringing this conversation to light, and it's very, very powerful.
Thank you so much, Donna.
And I think, Donna said about choice, and Tabitha was talking about choice in the beginning when we were talking about what it means. So I love how it was brought full circle. And also, Donna talked about surrender. And surrender is so powerful, because there's this, on an energetic level, right? It's a release for rebirth, right? And a lot of times, back to that societal norm, surrender looks weak, right? What do you mean you're going to surrender? No, you have to stand your ground. Surrender. No, that's weak. No, surrender is very powerful. It takes a lot in us to recognize this is not working, and maybe I was building this for a very long time, but I'm gonna surrender. And one thing that I keep, I know Donna have talked, but with nature, I had this plant at home, and it was not doing well. It had these long vines, but there was no leaves on them, just at the bottom. And I read what to do with it, and it said, cut it all back, and it's just gonna grow so wide. And I cut it all back, and it looked so like I was looking at this plant. I was like, you poor guy, oh my goodness. I can't tell you how big. And I was just telling my husband, in a month, I have a whole new plant. These beautiful leaves, green, huge, coming in. And it just that's the power of surrender and rebirth, where it's like, this is so scary to cut this off. These 6 feet vines, yeah, they're half dead, but they're 6 feet. There's so much work that went into it. But I was like, I trust it. I trust that surrendering and giving it cut is what it needs. And it's just, to me, every day I look at that plant, I was like, look at you, buddy. Thank you for showing me how you can, in a month, transform from something that's just needs so much nurturing into something growing. And I feel like that's, for us, that's power in our surrender, that we can say, this is not working, leave the situation, leave the relationship, leave, it takes a lot of power to do that. But in just a month's time, you could be 6 times further than you thought you would be if you stayed. So that's kind of on the limiting beliefs of just holding back, or holding on so tightly, where the release of surrender is just can bring us so much further.
That's something
Yes.
that Donna was talking about, letting go. And, sometimes when we let go, we do it from a place of frustration or victim. We were talking about victim earlier. And when we do it from a place of responsibility and our power of choice and clarity that, we are choosing ourselves in those moments and not making someone else wrong or not making the situation wrong, just knowing that we're choosing a different path and letting those things go that aren't working for us. It really is so powerful. So surrender, and something that came up earlier, humility. Oh my goodness, humility is another one that we think that I know that I've had the experience of feeling like it is powerlessness. And it's so the opposite. It really is us standing in our power and saying, yeah, I don't know everything, and that's perfect that way, because that's what makes us valuable together, is bringing all of our wisdom together. And when I am in humility and curiosity, that was another word that came up earlier, then, we all stand in our grace and our power together.
So beautiful, so beautiful. And you're right. And part of stepping into our power too is reclaiming our voice and being able to express ourselves or to not use it, right? If we need to be in that silence, we talked about the power of silence. And there's something that I heard once that someone said, do my words improve upon the silence? And that's a really interesting way to look at before we speak. If it's meaningful, will it actually improve upon the silence? Is it really worth sharing and saying, and how we can improve upon the silence? If there's something to be shared, how can we do that in a loving, compassionate, and supportive way? And it's so interesting when I was hearing you speak, Katie, about how we can long to be seen and heard and yet emotionally fear it at the same time. And it seems like the conditions for powerlessness are not being seen, not being heard, not being believed or understood. And just the opposite, when we can really step into our power, when we claim our voice and when we allow ourselves to show up and be seen and to be heard and to express ourselves in a way that can be understood, because we are aligned and living in integrity and speaking from our heart and being believable, because we are aligned with our values and living with integrity. And so just to wrap up, what are the key ways or key takeaways for people that want to step into their power even more and to really be able to step into their own, to step into who they came here to be and do what they came here to do, and not be so concerned about anybody else, but to surrender to the outcomes and just keep showing up in their power? How can they do that?
What comes up for me is that we aren't always going to feel powerful. We aren't going to always feel in our power, but to know that we always have choice. We always have the ability to choose the next moment, choose our next action, even choose, how we take care of ourselves so that we can show up feeling powerful in the next moment. So choice to me is kind of the culmination of everything that we talked about, whether I'm choosing to surrender because that's the best thing for the moment, or I'm choosing to be curious, or I'm choosing my integrity, or I'm choosing responsibility, that we always have choice.
Jan, do you want to speak to that before you go? What you wrote there?
She was saying that she lost possibly her audio. So I'm
lost the audio. Okay.
I think she's saying bye.
Much love to everyone from Jan. Thank you, Jan, for being here. Thank you for all of you for being here. And we spoke also about surrounding each other, supporting each other, wrapping around each other and supporting each other. And that's what really Sacred You and our sacred community is all about. So Sophia, can you please share a little bit more about how we're touching lives everywhere and how we're coming together, women and men now, to support each other?
I will, and thank you, Jennifer. And can I just say for everyone who is watching us, and for Katie and Tabitha, first of all, so thank you, Katie and Tabitha, for joining us today. And thank you, Jennifer. You've done a beautiful wonderful opportunity job, or it's not a job, but you've taken this panel discussion and held space for everyone in such a beautiful way. So I just want to mention that. And also for everyone who's watching us, we have been putting everyone links in the comments, but Jennifer is also a beautiful blog writer, and has her own podcast. So Jennifer writes all our blogs, so all those links are there too. And Katie, can I just ask Katie very quickly, and Tabitha and Jennifer too yourself, do you have anything to share for our audience members, those who are watching live and on the replay? Anything that you'd like to give away? Any programs that you're running and stuff? Anyone? Katie, yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Katie.
One of the things I love to work with is this connection to trust, and this energy of trust and trusting in the divine guidance for us. So I feel that that's one of the things also with power that helps us really step into it, knowing that we are divinely guided, divinely protected, divinely created. And when we see that, and when we feel that, and we start, to really embody it, our power, we can feel it, we can just tap into it. It's always with us, but we could just tap into it so much smoother. So this is what I love to work with. And so one of the tools that comes to mind are the Akashic records, which is a blueprint of our soul. So through conversation, we connect to the records, and they're always available. Through a prayer, we connect, and then we just explore the records for that are there to offer that guidance and support to us. So that's something I absolutely love doing, and the sessions are always so just, Tabitha talked about humility, like humbling. They're just like, every time I facilitate one, and the reaction or the way it's received on the other end is something to me, like it's the most powerful thing for me. So I love watching that transformation for people to just have this aha moment. So my offer is, if anyone would like to explore if this is something that would be of value to them, I'm happy to hop on. There's a link on my website to have a discovery call and just see if this is something that would be of value.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much. And I said we do have all those links on everywhere where we've been. So hopefully for anyone who wants an Akashic record reading or to find out more about what Katie offers, and there's a lot too, so do click on the website. And what about you, Tabitha? What beautiful things do you have for us?
Yeah, so I'm currently running book clubs, and just a place that we all up level together and in communication about a book. Right now we're reading Worth It by Amanda Steinberg. We actually just started that book. So if someone's listening and they want to get in on that book, they can join us. It is a way for us all to continue our personal development and grow together and learn from people who've been there. So if you'd like to jump in either on this book, or if you're hearing this later and want to jump in on another book, it's always focused around women. Men are welcome, but the books typically are focused on women's challenges, and typically around financial worth space. So if that is of interest to you and you like to come have fun in my space, you are so welcome to come and play with us.
Thank you, Tabitha, and I'll certainly look into it too. We have our own book club, but it's always good to connect with other book clubs as well. So wonderful. Thank you for that. And Jennifer, what about your beautiful self? Tell us a little bit about, the podcast or anything that you'd like to give away to all our listeners.
Sure. Well, I'd like to give away a guide to living with passion and purpose, because that also is a way of stepping into our inner power. And really, when you align with your true passion, then you're an expression of who you are at the soul level. So when you break up the word passion, it's pass I on. And that I is your soul's expression of who you came here to be, and then pass on what you came here to do in this lifetime. So there's a free guide that's available either through the link or on my website at lightingthepath.ca. There's also a soul care guide if you're needing some nourishment there, or if you want a class on creative transformation, that's also something that's offered for free, and other resources from other colleagues in the community as well, or I'll at lightingthepath.ca. And I also wanted to share some words from Jan, who lost her audio, but had written in the chat, and she says, be kind to each other, have other women's backs, there is no competition, we are all unique.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, and for Jan, who will be watching us now. Thank you, Jan, for that. And of course, for anyone who wants to reach out to Jan, again, her links are in the comments. And Jan is the host of one of our tribes. We have over 30 special interest tribes, and Jan is the amazing host of Many Faces of the Goddess. So she has her monthly tribe meetings where she talks about all different aspects of the goddess and all different goddesses in many cultures. And you can join not just Jan's tribe, but all of our tribes, or any of our tribes, just for $1 Australian to try it out for 3 weeks. And then after that, it's just $15 Australian a month, and you get to come to all of the meetings. Probably don't recommend all of them because it's quite a lot, but any of the ones that interest you. We've got tribes on goddess, we've got business tribes, we've got personal development tribes, sacred feminine tribes, a lot of tribes on the metaphysical, astrology and human design and spiritual development, many tribes. So the links are there, because as Jennifer was saying, sacred you, it's all about connecting to ourselves, connecting to our higher selves, connecting to our purpose, our passion, and connecting with beautiful, heart-centered, soul-centered people from all around the world. That is what we're here and we provide. Next one coming up this time next week, our next panel discussion, talk about connecting. It is living our best lives. Same time next week. So again, thank you, Jennifer, so much for facilitating today. Thank you, Katie, for joining us, and Tabitha and Donna and Jan, who both unfortunately dropped out. But we will be seeing them again. And for everyone out there, have a beautiful day.
Enjoy, everyone. Thank you so very much.